everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of The Joy of Being for busy working mums and women in business and beyond who are seeking to unplug from their worries and overwhelm to light up with insight and joy. I, your host, mum, and effortless lifestyle coach Marina Pearson, talk to transformational professionals, business owners, and creatives about what it really takes to have a business and life you can truly enjoy. If you enjoyed the show or had any questions, why not connect with me on Instagram at Marina Pearson? Look out for the show's meme and make a comment there, or just click on my story and ask me a question. Alternatively, you can find me on the Joy of Being Facebook group. And if you would like a more personalized touch to live a stress-free life, then why not find out more about the Joy of Being retreat, an intimate 4-day profound experience at a luxury venue in Javier, Spain, where you get to experience your inner calm and peace of mind by slowing down and making space. To find out more, email me at marina@marinapearson.com with Joy of Being retreat in the title. And welcome to another joyful episode of The Joy of Being. And on today's show, I have Tracy Newberry, the founder of Happy Baby and Me. I met Tracy about 3.5 years ago when I wasn't sleeping and my son wasn't either. And she was my salvation. I remember her after coming to see me, that was the first night Leo had actually slept through in his cot. So I decided to bring on the show because I thought what she has to offer and what she has to share about sleeping children, getting our rest was really, really valuable. We talked about her journey. We talked about some of the things that can help us all sleep much better when we have infants and babies. And we talked about some very simple things that you can do to help you alleviate all of that tiredness when all you want to do is go to bed but your baby is screaming. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. You especially will if you are in that situation. And until the next time, enjoy. So Tracy, thank you so much for being here today. And as I said in intro, Tracy, thankfully, was my savior. She came to the rescue when my little one wasn't sleeping properly at around 7 months. And for me, it became a huge obsession of getting him to sleep. And it was taking away a lot of my joy. I was finding it super difficult to be in joy. And so I'm super excited to have Tracy here today because she's amazing at what she does. She's really different from any other sleep trainer that I know. So I'm super excited. Welcome, Tracy. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Marina. I'm so happy. Thank you. I'm overjoyed. Thank you so much.
So, Tracy, in all of your experience, because I know there are probably some mums listening to this going, right, okay, I am so sleep deprived. I cannot see the wood from the trees. Is there an answer to this? Is it possible to enjoy the experience of motherhood when you've just become a mother, maybe for the first time, or you're going through it again and you kind of forgot how tough it was at the beginning? Because now you have to deal with 2 of them as opposed to 1. So yeah, I'm just curious because you work with many women. So over to you.
Thanks, Marina. Well, yes, I do think that there are ways of helping your baby sleep well and sleep better. Obviously, the first year is made up of so many different parts. And when we look at baby sleep, we just think, my baby's not sleeping, this is a problem. And you feel really tired. And there's so much pressure from outside saying, your baby should be sleeping by, this many months and this many weeks, 12 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, once the weaning comes in, 8 months, 1 year. And, put so much pressure on women. And, every baby is different. And there's no right or wrong if the baby's still feeding at 1 or at 2, because lots of babies still have a feed at 2, and there's no problem with that. you have to look at the whole picture and the whole year of what's going on in the year. So in the beginning, your routine is going to be all over the place. The baby's just learning about this world. You're getting breastfeeding established, or you're working out the wake times, and then comes weaning, and that often interrupts the baby's digestive system. So you've got to kind of work through that, and it gets a bit better. And then you've got the 8 to 10 month sleep progression, which is really fun. And, it's the sleep anxiety. So babies feel a lot of separation anxiety in that time. And so you've got that to deal with. And then, so, there are bits in between where sleep could be really good. And there are really good times to work on sleep. But you have to look at the whole year and see what it's broken down into, because obviously your baby is developing so much in that first year that you can't just expect that it's going to be, black and white. There's so many gray areas in between. Developmental leaps, environment plays a big part of a baby's sleep. I speak about it a lot. So the first year to me is probably the hardest year, because obviously you're still getting used to having a baby, your new life as a mom. You are having to almost shed your old skin and step into this new place where you are now, especially if you've been working before or running your own business. You've got to find a new way to work around a little one. You need to bring in extra help, but then maybe feel guilty about doing that. So the first year is definitely, even for me, it was challenging. I've worked with children for over 14 years. And when I had my little one, I was shocked. So, I can imagine for moms who have not had much experience with children before, how much of a shock that must be for them as well.
That's really interesting because, I would just assume, Tracy, you're like the angel of babies. But that's really interesting because I actually have my son's nanny who's just about to give birth, and she keeps telling me, oh yeah, it'll be fine. I'll look after Leo. Yeah, within the month. I'm like, I don't know if you actually understand what you're just.
Oh yes, exactly.
She's been with babies for years, right? But that connection, and there is that sort of extra emotional
huge
component, because there's so much. How do I do this? I'm so tired. I don't know.
You're so tired. You can't think. Yeah.
Can't think.
In the beginning, when I had Alexa and it was in those early days, I was so tired, and you've got the birth and then it's straight in. You don't have a second to stop. It's just, and from being honest, you never stop. I had to really think, if a mom emailed me this question, what would I respond to her? What would I tell her? So I have to take myself right out of the situation, find the answer, and then go back in and apply to, Alexa and I, because you're so tired and you're not thinking. You've got so much to think of. There's a million things to think of. And also you've got this little baby who's so dependent on you that your brain is it's in a different place to where it was before.
Zombie. I remember my sister telling me, she said something like, it feels like I've just put my brain in a microwave and it's just come out and somebody scooped it out with a spoon.
It's
always remembered that, right? It was really correct.
Yes.
And like somebody's speaking to you and then you just turn around and go, huh?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, it's very full on. Yeah.
We know. I mean, obviously I'm a mum and I know, oh my God, the whole sleeping thing. And for me, it was really interesting. So I would dread the evenings. I would dread the nights because I never knew whether I would actually get to sleep. Whether it would take a long time for Leo to sleep, when he wouldn't actually go to sleep and he was crying. I remember this one time where he was crying for like 3 hours nonstop. I mean, it was just nothing that I did. Yeah, everything, like shaking him, singing to him, just patting him for hours on end, crying,
Yes.
humming, music, white noise, the whole thing, nothing. And then suddenly I just lost it. I'm like, fucking done.
Yeah.
Got him out of the bed and then put him on the ground on the carpet and then back into my room.
Yeah.
Nothing. I walked back in and he was totally asleep.
Oh, but boy, he was like out.
Out like a light. But it was that moment that I shifted.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
They feed off of our energy so much as well. They just, they are energetic little beings. They just soak up the energy all around them. So, yeah, it makes sense.
you know, for the mums that have either just had children or are still having a no sleeper in their house, is there any possibility to have any kind of joy in the fact that, you know, their kids aren't sleeping? Because, you know, sleep deprivation is supposed to be the worst form of torture. So
yeah,
I would love to share your take on this, because I know that before we started this podcast to record it, that you had a different take on what most people would deem sleep deprivation, and that actually we can find a little bit of joy in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I had Alexa and I was also tired, I realized there was a moment where I realized I had to really dig deep and really work on my own mindset. I mean, throughout this whole 2 years, really, because your life changes so much. A successful business, and then I had a baby, and I was running a business and a baby, and I was trying to juggle it all by myself, and it was feeling a bit stressful. I had to really dig deep and find a different way of thinking about things. And at some point in the beginning, I really realized that, you know, you can be sleep deprived and miserable, or you can be, you know, feel miserable and make that be like, I'm just tired, I'm just going to be miserable. Or you can be sleep deprived and still choose to be happy, or still choose to have, you know, they still enjoy moments of the day and just try and, you know, make the best out of every day, even though you sleep deprived and even though you don't feel, you know, $1,000,000 and just the way you were, your life's not the same as it was before, but really reaching and trying to find those happy moments, those pockets of, you know, bliss when your baby's, you know, some pockets when your baby's laughing, or and really kind of milk those good moments and soak up those good moments and just try and, you know, make a choice to make the best of this time in your life, because it's only going to be once in your life. Even if you have 2 or 3 children or more, you only get that time with your first baby, because it's always going to be different with your second and your third, and you're still going to think of the first. I think some of it is to do with our mindset and making a choice that even though we're sleep deprived, we can still be happy.
I love that. I also had to, in the conclusion I came to too. I remember I was at a training. I was having a really difficult relationship with not sleeping, to the point where it was really paralyzing me in doing anything. I'm not going to go and exercise because I don't want to get even more tired than I was before. Yeah. I'm not going to stay up late, because there's wisdom in that too. There were things like that that would stop me from living my life.
You're living your life, yeah.
Because I was so scared to feel the way I had done in the first year. So there was the first year where I really had no energy. And then there was the second year where I spent most of my time being afraid that I would...
you feel that tired again.
Yeah. And then I was at a seminar. Gosh, Leo must have been about 9 months at the time. Sitting there. And the seminar speaker said, not even sleep deprivation can give you a feeling.
Oh, so interesting. Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
What did you just say? He didn't say it to me. He said it to the person he was working with. And I had this huge insight. And then for 3 days, I just had all of this energy.
Yeah.
And what I realized was the amount of overthinking that I had about...
And the story we tell ourselves. Yeah.
Was what was creating the exhaustion. It wasn't necessarily the sleep deprivation itself. It was the overthinking about sleep
thinking about it. Yeah. Exactly. 100%. That's also what I found in my experience. Like, if you stop thinking about it, it goes away. If you change your thought to something else, it's not there anymore, because how can it be when you're not thinking about it, not paying attention? But if you're thinking the whole day, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, this is horrible, this is so hard, this is awful, then it is going to be awful, terrible, hard, exhausting. It's just going to, every day is going to feel horrible and terrible and exhausting. If you start to tell yourself a new story, you start to get more of that new story, I think. I mean, of course, sleep deprivation is a serious thing. They do use this torture because it is so bad. I mean, it feels that bad. They use it as torture. And it is said to be as dangerous as, you know, drunk drive. Sleep deprivation is no joke. But also, I feel like we can still try and change our mindsets to be, we can try and help our baby sleep, you know, better, so that we're not so sleep deprived and so exhausted. But there are some points in a child's first year where that's just going to happen because of, you know, the developmental leaps of the child's going through, or illness, big changes like moving and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And what comes to mind when I'm hearing you speak is the sense of nature wouldn't have done it this way if there wasn't an intelligence in it. Like, we're not going to die. Like that was the thing. I honestly, there were days that I thought, I'm going to die. I can't cope anymore. I'm dying. And it's not true. Nature wouldn't have done it this way. You get the rest you need and you're listening to your body and you slow down because you've actually
got... That's the most important thing, is you got to listen.
And I think that for many women that go through this and they have a business or they have a full-on career, it can be really hard because you're so used to being on the go. You're so used to achieving. You're so used to striving. You're so used to who you are and what you're about.
Exactly. Success and
yeah, and difficult to kind of come to a place where this is what I want. This is good for me. And this is also what's good for my baby.
Yeah.
But I'd love to come back to this point that you made about how to help. Okay, so the sleep deprivation, we can still have a good experience in our lives with it. But let's talk a little bit about the work that you do and how it's possible to actually help mums to have babies that sleep. Because if there's a solution, why not take it?
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. My work is very gentle. As you know, I don't do any crying. There's no cried out. There's no crying. And I've developed it over the years so that there's not even, 2 seconds of crying. There just is no crying. It's not even in my vocab when I work with children.
I did it all wrong. There was lots of crying.
Oh, I mean, it's so gentle the way I work now. But also I work in a different way in that, like, after having Alexa, I realized how many things affect sleep. You got to look at the whole picture. You can't just look at like one thing and be like, oh, we've got to get that little habit out there. That's a bad habit and rub it out and change that. It's the whole thing. So when we look at sleep, you've got to look at your baby's environment. You've got to make, it's got to be cool, dark, quiet. If it's not as dark as we want it to be, because obviously light is going to wake us up, because that's the way our brains are, that's the way we are made. So the light hits the back of our eyes and says it's time to wake up. So the dark is going to say go to sleep. We often stay up later in the summers and go to bed a bit early in the winters because the light's hitting our eyes. It's telling us go to bed or wake up. It's light waking us up in the morning. So for children, it's just the same. So, make your room dark, get some blackout blinds. Make sure it's not too hot, because obviously no one likes to sleep in a hot, stuffy room. No one likes to sleep when they are too hot and they're covered up in too many things, too many layers. And sometimes we worry our kids are going to get cold in the night, so we kind of layer them up a little bit too much. So they wake up more thirsty, uncomfortable and needing a drink because they're so thirsty, because they are hot in the night. Noise. So noise is a big one, outside noise, inside noise. So white noise could help. So all these kind of little things that they really make a difference to sleep. Understanding, the developmental leaps and where you are developmentally with your baby. So 4 to 5 months, the sleep regression, it's a big one. 8 to 10 months, sleep anxiety, that's a big one. You get another one around 12 months. So they're all big leaps and your baby's learning a lot, and we wouldn't want to change that for anything. But you have to understand that if your baby's going through these developmental leaps, they're probably not going to sleep so well. I mean, there's things you can do to help them sleep better, but they're probably not going to sleep amazingly, especially if they are a child who is more spirited and more kind of very with the world. There's some babies who just seem to be very there and like with us, They're the ones who seem to wake up more and who are affected more by
I'm nodding.
By developmental leaps and teething, illness, these kinds of things. All play a really big part in the picture. So once you understand what's waking your baby up, that plays a huge part in helping your baby sleep better.
So how can you identify that? Is it a process of elimination, or are there like this wisdom that we have as mothers and the connection that we have?
So first I would start with the room. I would look at the room. Honestly, in all the time I've been doing this, not one room I've been into where it's been dark, cool, and quiet. Not one, I promise you, not one.
Yeah, no, I couldn't admit that. I like.
Yes. So it seems so very simple, but honestly, when I start working with parents and I go in for their nap and I take all my stuff with me, I take the white noise, I take my blackout blinds, I take everything with me, and the baby naps amazingly well, and the parents just think it's a fluke and it's never going to happen again. And then I say, we get the blackout blinds, you do the whole thing. They do exactly the same way as me. Nap time routine, almost no one has a nap time routine. So the baby, they just kind of like pop the baby in the cart or start rocking the baby, and the baby's just like, I was playing downstairs in the lounge and now I'm here in the room and now I'm just meant to switch off and go to sleep. there's no signal to say, okay, now it's time for a nap. And then you close the curtains and you put on a lullaby and it's all nice and calm. You do a nice feed. So the baby understands, oh, it's time for my nap. And its brain gets ready for a nap. So a lot of parents don't have a nap routine, which is huge for the nap. So that alone, the nap routine and, just making the room cool, dark and quiet, they are huge factors in baby sleep. And then not only that, but the feel of the room. So a lot of rooms they need a bit of decluttering or kind of tidying up because they just feel a bit kind of chaotic in the room. They kind of lots of toys around or old clothes from when they were newborn piled up in boxes all over the place. And you go into the room and it doesn't feel like a sleep sanctuary. You feel a little bit anxious in the room. You don't kind of let go of your breath and think, oh, this is a lovely room to be in. Like we want our rooms to feel like when we sleep, a baby wants to feel the same way in their room. So that's huge. Timings are also important, awake times. So I look at the baby's awake times for their age. If the baby's awake for too long, they release cortisol and adrenaline into the body, which means, it's the fight or flight hormones into the body. So it takes them a long time to fall asleep once they become overtired. We'll wake up more easily after they fall asleep. And if you put a baby down too early and he's not tired enough, you can have a fast in your hands. So wake times are super important as well. So when I go in, I can feel what's going on already. Like when the mom's spoken to me, I look at the room, I talk about awake times, I look at the baby's age so I can understand his developmental leaps, bedtime routines, nap time routines. So yeah, all those kinds of things. Yeah.
It's often the most simple things that make such a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, why don't we notice that? Because now I see that. Why do we miss that? They're just so simple. And yet, how is it that we miss it?
I don't know. I think it's like everything in life. You don't know if you just don't know. It's like the fish in water and the other fish like swims past him and says, oh, the water's cold today. And he's like, what water? Like, what is water? Because he's in the water. He doesn't understand, like, what is water when you're in the water? And also, I think we are misled quite a bit as parents with baby sleep in that baby's not sleeping, there's something wrong, and the baby's being bad. We've got to fix this bad sleep habit, like all of this kind of stuff. And we become so focused on the bad sleep habits of, a lot of moms are told that if you feed your baby before sleep, it's a problem. And that's the reason why your baby's waking up. I promise you it's not. So I think until we know better, I think it's like with everything, even in your business, I'm sure until you know better, you just can't do better. You don't know to look for it. You don't know to look for the temperature of your baby's room. You don't know that the light is waking your baby up at 5 o'clock in the morning and that's why they're waking up. The birds are chirping and that's why they're waking up. I mean, I went into a family last summer and it was getting light at 4:35 in the morning. And I went in, the mom said every morning at 4:30 she's awake. And I went into the room and there was no curtains, just like thin thing covering the window. And she's like, no, my baby doesn't need blackout blinds. We don't believe in that. It's fine. And I went into the room and I was like, okay, if you want to sleep past 4:30 in the morning, you're going to have to get some blackout blinds. Because the birds were chirping at that time in the morning. Because I know at my house they chirp at that time in the morning. And it was light for me at that time in the morning. So of course the baby's waking up because she's hearing the birds chirping and there's light outside. So her brain's saying, oh, it's day. Come on, let's play. So she put in the blackout blinds and the white noise and that was it. She slept until 7. It was amazing. So sometimes it is really the simple things, but you don't know until you don't know. Until you know, I guess.
What I really heard in what you just said is where we're placing our focus as a society or, as parents is focusing on what's not working as opposed to what it could be.
Yeah.
Right? That there is a solution. And actually, if there's a solution, then our intuition can kick in and go, right, well, what is the solution?
Yeah.
And then it probably becomes so obvious to us. It's like, well, yeah, that's just common sense.
Exactly. It becomes common sense. Exactly. We think, how did I not think of that before? Exactly.
You can't see what you can't see, as you rightly
said. Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. I'd really love to know a little bit about your story, actually, because how did you even get into this profession? What kind of got you interested in it? Your story with your little one too.
Yes. So I've always loved babies and young children since I can remember. My first memory, I think, was loving babies. And my sister, I was 6 when she was born. She almost became like my little baby. I adored her so much. I loved her. At the shops, my sisters and my brothers were asking for like sweets and, crisps at the shop. And I was asking for baby magazines so I could go home and cut up my own baby magazines and make my own baby book. And I'd write down stuff and make notes. And I mean, now looking back, it was always going to be my path, I think. And so I was just really obsessed with small children and babies. And I loved spending time with them. And then when I was about 11, I started volunteering at an orphanage in South Africa, where I'm from, called Cotlands. And it was for abandoned and abused children. And I did that for, I think, 2 years, but then it became really difficult because I get really attached to children, and then they would, be sent away to a safe home, or it was so hard for me to build up these relationships with these children and these babies, and then they would just be sent away, and I just left me heartbroken every time, and I just ended up crying. And at some point I just had to not go back because it was too emotional for me. I was very young as well, so there was a lot to take on it was very emotional. When I left school when I was 18, all I wanted to do was come to London and be a nanny.
Wow, we sold it really well to you then, obviously.
So I just wanted to come and be a nanny in London. That was my dream at that point in my life. So I did. So after I finished school when I was 18, all my friends were going to like college and, studying further. I came to London and I landed my first job as a nanny. So I was here for a year and a half when I was 18. And then I nannied in that time for 2 families, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So there was just a split nanny here. And then I went back to South Africa and I worked at a nursery school. But there it's quite different to here. Here you have like 3 children per key worker. There I had 20 kids to myself. 2 to 3-year-olds. So it was crazy. And when the teacher next door to me was off, which was every second week because she was studying, I had all of her kids as well by myself. So that was pretty full on. Wow. And it was quite stressful. And I was 20 at the time. So it was a lot of kids for me to be having, and it was fun. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, but it was quite stressful at times. And then I nannied in South Africa for a little bit as well for an amazing family who I'm still really good friends with now. And then I came back to London and I've been here ever since. So that was 2009 and I've been here ever since. And then I nannied, so all in all I nannied for 10 years up until I was 28. And then 4 years ago, I stopped nannying altogether. In that time, when I was working as a nanny, I always got the children to nap really well and to go to bed really well. And it never seemed like a struggle to me. So for me, I didn't even know there were problems with sleep. It just seemed easy and natural. I just thought children sleep. That's what they do. They have a nap and that's what they do. It was only towards the very, very end of my nanny career that I started to realize maybe I was doing something different with these children. And I really had a passion for sleep and for children. I read a lot of books and a lot of things I agreed with, a lot of things I didn't agree with. And I started to find my own kind of way of thinking about sleep. Night nursing. So I went into families of newborn parents that had just had babies, so newborn babies. And while they got some sleep, I would look after their baby overnight. And I just loved it. It was just precious and this new life. These people are trusting me with the most precious thing in their lives. It was so special for me. So that was amazing. And I really got the babies to sleep really well. And it was just a lovely, lovely time of my life. And then I did some sleep coaching as well. So I would sleep overnight for 5 nights and I would help the baby sleep. And then I fell pregnant with my own little girl and I stopped doing the nights myself because obviously being up all night and pregnant was pretty tiring. And so I changed the business to consultation based, and that's where I am at now as well. So just kind of, I go in to a family's house and we work on the room. I also work with a feng shui specialist now to make sure that the whole room is working and is conducive to sleep. So no rock is unturned in that room. Everything is accounted for in that bedroom. So you can be very sure that once I finish and I leave, the whole room is working for the baby's sleep. And then I put the baby down for a nap with the mom. So I get to show the mom the nap routine and the technique and that it works. And I take my blackout blinds, we make the room dark. I take white noise, I lullaby, the whole works. And the mom and I put the baby down together for a nap. And then while the baby's napping, we chat about asleep and what's going on and how to move forward and how to help. And then I support her intensively through phone and email after that. So yes, that's my story.
So what is the technique? Because I mean, I'm sure there are women who are listening that come and going, yeah, okay, great. I've really got that I need to look at the environment of where my child sleeps. That might be a really good one. But what is the technique you talk about?
Okay, so I look at where they are at now. For instance, I've just finished working with a family who the little girl is just 8 months old, but for her whole life, until I started working with her a couple of months ago, they would have to push her in the buggy around the block, for hours a day to help her nap. And for night times, I had to rock her for hours to get her to bed. So I kind of look at where they are now. So, okay, we want your baby to nap in her cot because the mom was just exhausted. Her back was breaking, and it was snowing at that point. It was December in London, and we thought, okay, so we need to figure out a way of how, where you are now to get your baby sleeping in the cot in a really gentle way that's not going to freak your baby out and be gentle. And also for nighttime, how are we going to get your baby out of your arms being rocked for hours into a gentle way of getting them into the cot for sleep times? There's a big part of the sleep world that says, do not feed your baby before sleep and do not feed your baby to sleep, and get sleepy. It is not helpful. That information is not helpful for women because they think that by feeding the baby before sleep, they're going to do something wrong. And feeding a baby before sleep is one of the most natural ways to help your baby get sleepy, because that was just the universe's way or God's way of helping your baby get sleepy. So, there's all kinds of hormones and chemicals in your milk to help it get sleepy. And even in a bottle of milk, it's warm, it's comforting. In a dark room, you're sitting with your baby and the timing is right, and you baby the milk, you breastfeed. The baby gets lovely and sleepy, and it almost does a lot of the heavy work for you. So you get the timing right, you get the room right, all the other things are good. You're feeding your baby, the baby gets nice and sleepy on the milk. Either sit there for a minute or two and just kind of start patting your baby and get up, and then just walk over gently to the cot, put your baby down, and if she starts to kind of, you just place your hands straight on the baby and pat and carry on that reassurance in the cot. Some moms I've even heard of moms getting in the cot to kind of, give that reassurance and then jumping out the cot for a few times, and then it's done. The baby understands that that's where he goes to sleep, and that's your new routine of how you do it, and it's done, and it doesn't cause a problem. A lot of sleep trainers say that is a problem. It's not a problem. It's very natural. It's very normal. And also for naps, many moms don't know about the nap routine, don't have a nap routine. So by incorporating a nap routine where the room's dark, your baby's tired when you do putting it down for a nap, you give her a feed before the nap, and that does a lot of the hard work for you. Then you put your baby down into the cot, you can pat your baby there if they need to. It just does so much of the hard work for you. There's obviously different variations of where the mom is, now and how the baby reacts. But that's the good thing about doing a nap with the mom, is that I get to see how the baby reacts. So I get to guide her through that as well, that's really helpful.
So for someone that has never done this before, that they're having a struggle, that's listening in, how do you get them? Because it sounds to me like you do that and it's done. However, having gone through this process...
Yes.
It wasn't like it happened at the first time. In fact, he did good the first time because you were there. And then the next night I was patting him. Do you remember? I was like patting him like for about
I remember.
Half, maybe 2. My back was killing me. But anyway, I'm assuming it doesn't work at the first. What if it doesn't work at the first? And it seemed to me that it does. But I know that...
Yeah, that it's different.
What's to it?
So when we first worked together, the way I work was different. It's not the way I work now. It's really different the way I work now. So
okay, cool.
I have to compare it in that way now, because there's just so much more that I think of, and that, and how my technique has changed over the years, especially through having Alexis. So it really has changed a lot. But I do get what you're saying. So obviously, and also sometimes you're going to not get the wake times right. Sometimes you're going to put your baby down too soon, and you're there for an hour and you're like, Tracy, I'm going to pull my hair out, like my child's still not sleeping. But maybe you try to put them down too soon and he wasn't tired enough. And then maybe the next night you've got to adjust the wake time a bit more. So the support that I offer with my clients through phone and email after that we can speak, we jump on WhatsApp and we chat every day. We bounce off each other so that I can keep tweaking it all the time, because sleep changes all the time. So we've got to be able to change it with the baby. And if something's not working, I can just quickly pop on a call or bounce back another idea, and then we find something that works for that baby.
So funny. This is such a distant memory. I found an Australian soap opera on Netflix, and it's called Let It Down or something like that.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Let Down. It's hilarious. It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, and I just thought of you, like, because she's just knackered, right? Like, totally lost the plot. She goes into her mum's meeting, she's sitting there, and then one of them comes in with a baby, and she's like, somebody's left their baby outside.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so, I really,
and then they put the headphones on, the sound, yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Oh, they really broke my heart. They put us like, no.
She thought that she's managed to go through the night. She takes them off and the baby's still crying. But
the baby's still crying. It's awful.
Yeah,
oh.
Until 6 a.m. I'm laughing because I can really relate. Not that I would want to do that to my child.
I know. And it's so true that Let Down, that the one we talk about, is so true. And it made me laugh.
Yeah, I guess you've got to find the humor in it, right? Because it really is just otherwise.
I mean, and that's the thing. If they're making a series about it, then it obviously must be so real and so common that we're not the only ones who felt that way about. One of my favorite parts was when she goes out for dinner with her friend, and she takes the baby with her.
Yes.
And the friend takes the baby for a second, and she hasn't eaten. She just shoving this food in her mouth. But it's like that, isn't it? Like, as soon as you don't have a second to do anything, and almost in that whole time, in that whole year. So when you have your hands free for a second, you're just like, I'm gonna get this food out. Friends trying to talk to her, and she's like, eating. That was funny.
Yeah, I don't know if this happened to you, Tracy, but I remember looking in my wardrobe. God, Leo must have been about maybe 12 months. I looked in my wardrobe and I literally went, oh my God. So there was clothes that I wore before Leo, and then there was just clothes I would wear now, right? But there was no sexy mama going out or anything like that, right? It was literally breastfeeding tops and frumpy jumpers.
Yeah.
And I suddenly realized something. I was like, oh my God, my identity, I've been so wrapped up in being a mom for the first time that I've totally lost sight of who Marina is now. There was this definite shift around identity for me that suddenly came into the fore of like, well, who is Marina now? I don't have to just consider myself as a mom because I didn't used to be a mom. I'm still the same person, even though I'm now in a different role. It was an interesting insight, right? This transition of identity and from going not a mother into motherhood and going, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah, it's massive. It's huge. I mean, it's massive. I can't say this for 100% sure, but I think that's why a lot of new moms get postnatal depression. Is because they're not sleeping well a lot, and your life has just been like pulled out beneath you. You don't know who you are anymore. Everything is just, it's almost like it's the anxiety, it's the overwhelm. Your whole life has been turned upside down, and you got to try and find your way through and find you again. I mean, for me, I think also becoming a mom, it takes you to levels you never thought you would, reach before, patience levels. You got to keep reaching for new, better levels of yourself, I think. And I think that I'm better now as a mom.
What I've really realized is, I thought you just became a mom and that was it. You just are a mother. Yeah. And then I realized, oh no, there's a whole journey I'm on.
The journey. It's a whole journey. Yeah.
To being a mom, to the different stages of the child's development.
Yes.
Where certain things are needed and now they're not. And what worked then doesn't work now. And then you're like, well, why doesn't that work anymore? It did work yesterday and now it doesn't.
It worked. It worked. Exactly. And it's like, just as you figure something out, it changes on you.
It changes. And you're like, no, don't change. We're doing good.
No, I thought I had this down.
Because I remember for me, where we used to co-sleep with Leo. And at the beginning, I'd sit up and I'd breastfeed him on one. But then I got clued up with the fact that you could actually breastfeed sideways.
Oh, yes.
And you just turn over and stick your boob in.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was really interesting because that was a milestone for me. And then the next milestone was, oh, Leo doesn't need to sleep with us anymore. And the next milestone was, okay, Leo can now sleep in his own room. There's something that comes to mind actually as I'm speaking to you is, so you got them down to sleep, but then what happens? What happens if they wake up in the middle of the night? Because I know you might have got them why is it that they wake up? Like Leo would maybe wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and wouldn't be able to go back to sleep. So then I would just either put the boob in or I would give him the bottle. Because there's a thing around, oh, now they're just using the boob for comfort and now you've become a dummy. So I'm curious about that because I was told different things. I was, oh, don't worry about it. Or, oh, now he's dependent on you. So now he can't sleep through the night because he's going to need your boob for comfort.
Yeah. I hear that a lot. There's so much information around sleep. To me, you have this baby who has come out of your womb and it's dark in there and it's quiet and they're being lulled and, all their needs are met. And then they come into this world and it's just a massive transition for them. And then after a few weeks or a few months, we just think that they should be able to sleep through the night from 7 to 7. And if they don't, there's something wrong. But to me, I feel like when your baby's waking up, often how do we know that when your baby wakes up, he's not hungry? Because a lot of, sleep consultants will say that they don't need to feed after 12 weeks old, after 6 months old, after 9 months old. But how do they know that your baby is not waking up and genuinely hungry or thirsty in the night? They can't know that. They can't know. So sometimes they will wake up because they're hungry. Sometimes they will wake up because they're thirsty. Even if they're 9 months, 12 months, 14 months, 16 months, we don't know what their hunger levels or thirst levels are. But we can easily grab a drink of water. And also, no one sleeps through the night. No adult sleeps through the night and no kid sleeps through the night. We all wake up between our sleep cycles or a few of our sleep cycles. As adults, we don't even really realize we do it. Maybe we pull the blanket over or readjust our sleeping mask or turn over or go to the loo but we go back to sleep easily and sometimes we don't even remember waking up. But for babies who are still new in this world and learning everything and got so much going on developmentally, because in the first 0 to 2 years, they learn so much. There's so much to process. There's so much to make sense of. It's huge for them. And even more so if you've got a family who travels a lot or the sleep environment is different often or there's a lot of change in the family that goes on because a lot of families, travel a lot these days. And it's not fair for us to just expect children to sleep from 7 till 7 when there's so much going on for them in the background. And especially through developmental leaves when there is so much being locked in, a whole new level of learning going on behind the scenes. So when they wake up through a sleep cycle, their brain is sometimes just on. Like when we wake up and we start thinking about all this stuff and this exciting business new venture or this worry or this. Babies are almost the same with developmental stuff. So, I'm learning how to walk. I want to try and stand in my cot now. I'm going to try and sit up. I'm going to try and practice this new sound. So your questions to what to do when they wake up, also to understand why they're waking up. Separation anxiety is a huge one between 8 and 10 months old. Babies between 8 and 10 months old, that's a huge one. And they wake up more often, and sometimes bedtime is a struggle, and sometimes naps are a struggle because they believe they are learning that they are separate from you, but they can't understand that once you are out of the room, that you come back. It's almost as though you've gone forever. They have to try and process that, and it's very stressful for them. So they've got to learn that, and it's normal and it's healthy, and you wouldn't want it any other way, because also if your child does show those signs, it means you've got a healthy attachment. Say, for example, a child who's been abandoned all his life, between 8 and 10 months old, he's not going to have that same separation anxiety as he does with someone who's been nurturing and loving towards him. I mean, I'm talking about extreme, I'm talking about baby who's been really neglected and abandoned. So it shows that you've got a healthy attachment to your child, and your child has a healthy attachment to you. So it's healthy. So mostly we have to understand why the baby's waking up first, and then work on how to help the baby sleep for longer or get back to sleep quicker. But first we've got to realize what's waking the baby up. Sometimes it's the water pump going on or the heating coming on at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that click, click, click in the house is waking the baby up. That was the case in one of the families I worked for. So we're switching the heating off until 7 in the morning, and that eliminates that waking. So you've got to think about what's waking the baby up first.
Well, Tracy, thank you so much. And one of the questions I love to ask my guests is, what are you giving yourself permission to do more of?
Have fun with my daughter. That's definitely, that's been a big one for me as well. And I think speaking to you, Marina, a little while ago, it was so helpful with that, because I realized that I was struggling and stressing and pushing so much that I was, I was trying to reach for the Tracy before who ran, this business, was always busy. And then I had this baby, and it was like, how do I balance all of this? And I felt like I was just really pushing way too hard. I was just really overstretched, and it didn't feel easy. I was against the flow. And so I had to turn downstream and just go with the flow. And that means I just get to have so much more fun with Alexa, and our days are just so awesome now. And I have my work days and I have my work times. And in those days, I work well and I work smart in those days. And the rest of the time, there's no pressure and I just have fun, and it's just, it's so much better.
Oh, that's so cool, Tracy. So if someone's listening in today and they want to know more, or they want to find you because they just want to sleep, how can they do that?
So you can reach my website, happybabyandme.com. That's the best way. Or follow me on Facebook, Happy Baby and Me. Yeah, Happy Baby and Me. That's where I am.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. Thank you.
So for everybody that's listening, until the next time, bye-bye for now.
And there you have it, another wonderful episode of The Joy of Being. If you loved what you heard here today and it's been helpful, why not subscribe or share the podcast with others? And if you're curious as to how you can experience more joy in your life and feel carefree, then I invite you to download your Joy Catalyst scorecard at www.marinapearson.com/scorecard, which will help you identify the joy gaps and what you can do to fill them. And remember, you can find me on Instagram at Marina Pearson or my Facebook group, The Joy of Being. So until next week's episode, remember, you are the joy you